It was also the first Sentai series to be filmed in HD.
Wrong!
Samurai Ha-Oh is the first mech to appear.
Wrong!
I could get behind Samurai Ha-Oh.
Wrong!
A fence for a horse to jump over.
Wrong!
The Ghost Sagers even show up for a scene previewing what my next Super Sentai review is not going to be.
Wrong!
You suck at this.
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Samurai Sentai Shinkenger!
What's up everyone, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and this is my review for Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. 10 years ago, a Super Sentai show would hit the airwaves of Japan and the World Wide Web of America and become a huge hit, especially with those who were just being introduced to the Sentai franchise. Its name was Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, and it would go on to become one of the most hyped up Sentai series in years. Is it really that good of a show? Or was it merely praised due to its timing? Or are people just blinded by nostalgia? For me personally, I found Shinkenger to be a modern day Dairanger. Did that help with its success? Wait, what? A modern day Dairanger? Why would I say that, you ask? Well, that's easy. First off, both series are narrated by Hironori Miyata.
ついに殿タケルのもとへ結集した侍たち。これからどんな戦いが待っているのか。真剣ジャー第1幕。まずはこれまで。ついにヒバレンジャーが誕生した。まさかその正体が子供だったなんて。運はまさに急を告げていた。
Next up, the lead villain Toku is voiced by Rentaro Nishi, who was Shaddam in Dairanger. Additionally, both series feature a villain whose names are almost identical, only difference is one character, Akumaro and Akumaro.
我の名は筋柄の悪魔ろ
三人勘定私の調べではヒバレンジャーは10歳前後の子供のはずだ
Not to mention the Shinkenger puts a lot of emphasis on well choreographed fight scenes the same way Dairanger did. Oh, and the first mecha in the series has the form of a samurai. As such, Shinkenger is exactly what Dairanger would have been like had Dairanger been done in 2009 when Sentai focused excessively on merchandise and toy sales as opposed to development for the villains. Fortunately, the Ranger cast is solid overall, so let's shift this review into the heroes. Our samurai heroes are a lord and his 4 retainers. We have Shinken Red, Shinken Blue, Shinken Green, Shinken Yellow, and Shinken Pink. Takaru is played by Tori Matsuzaka, Hiroki Aiba portrays our over-the-top Ryunosuke, Shogo Suzuki covers the more relaxed Chiaki, while Kotaha is played by Suzuka Morita, leaving Rin Takanashi as the motherly Mako. Together, they form the core Ranger cast. Before getting into the traits to each Ranger, I do want to point out one of my favorite aspects of this show. None of these heroes were just randomly chosen to be Rangers. Instead, it is a duty that is passed down to each family member in case the evil creatures known as the Godoshu were to ever rise again during that person's generation. Then it is up to the next generation to carry on the will of the Shiba clan.
我が池波家は代々柴家に仕える家柄。心得は全て教えた通りだ。いざという時にはいかなる時でも殿となる方のもとへ。
Takaru is easily the best Red Ranger we have had since Time Ranger. He's the head of the Shiba clan, so having him be a loudmouth goofball just wouldn't fit with the theme of the show. Despite being a lord, he doesn't want anyone to follow him as he doesn't feel comfortable with people dying under his name.
俺一人でやるって言っただろ。
いつまでそのようなことを意地を張ってる場合ではありませんぞ。王国の強さはご存知のはず。
だからだ。だから
そんな奴との戦いに巻き込んでいいのか?
But it will often lead him to be reckless in battle, though it does bring in some truly epic battle sequences, such as this 3-way battle seen here. We also do get to see some scenes of his father before his death, who is played by fan favorite Kanji Suda.
決して逃げるな。落ちずに飛び続けろ。
While Takaru may represent fire, it is Ryunosuke who is the hothead of the group, as his personality will fly off to the extreme if someone doubts their leader.
なあ、殿様。お前、殿に向かってそういう言い方は。
Water may be his symbol, but cool he is not. Ryunosuke is easily my least favorite of the main cast. I just find Aiba's overacting to be quite distracting at times.
なんて寛大だ。それに比べて私は、戦闘中にまであのような死体を。
However, it was once brought to my attention that the overacting may be on purpose, as the character was a kabuki theater performer, and as such, everything he does is meant to be excessive. This is an intriguing point of view, yet it still doesn't improve my perception of Ryunosuke. As I already mentioned, Mako is the mother figure of the group, as she loves to cook, even if her food would put you in the grave. And she will do whatever is necessary to ensure her cohorts are safe. All of this stems from her parents abandoning her when she was a child, for her mother, played by Dairanger Kazue Ito, was injured during the last encounter with the Godoshu.
同国封印した戦いの後、お父さんと一緒にハワイに移住したから。 私は侍になるために残っておばあちゃんと。
Nevertheless, she did not let this strain her from her family's sworn oath to protect and serve the Shiba clan. The only difference between her and Ryunosuke is that she was not willing to blindly oblige Takaru had he not been a leader worth following.
いい加減なやつだったら命は預けられない。それだけ。
殿はいい加減なやつなのでは。
まだ決められないってこと。
何？マコが。
もはや止めるには手をくれ。
姉さんが料理。あの時の悪夢が。
My favorite of the Rangers is the wooden-powered spear-wielding Chiaki. I feel like Chiaki is the most realistic of the cast, as he understands his family's duty, but he doesn't feel that they should be obliged to follow something just because it is tradition. Part of this attitude stems from his father, who hadn't anticipated the Godoshu returning so soon. Thus, he never fully trained Chiaki to take the situation seriously, as he wanted Chiaki to have a happy childhood.
相変わらずパンケーキかよ。だってうまいじゃん。家で一人で寂しく食べるのも嫌だしさ。
While this brashness did come back to bite him in the ass, it also makes Chiaki the one who thinks outside of the box more often than not, with crazy ideas to stop a monster's rampage. Such as problem solving via Pac-Man. This phlegmatic boldness gives Chiaki a lot of room to grow into the hero he will become over the course of the series. Finally, we have the youngest member of the team. Kotaha's older sister was supposed to be the successor to the Shinken Yellow title. All that changed when she got sick.
うちお姉ちゃんの代わりに真剣者になって。お姉ちゃん体弱いし。
Kotaha became the one to take up the mantle her sister could not. This causes trouble on both sides of the spectrum, as Kotaha was always looked down upon by her family as being a wimp, while her sister laments her inability to fight, causing her to often worry about her well-being.
すぐ片付けるし。気をつけ。またや。
All of this destroys Kotaha's confidence. Still, it does come in handy early on in the series when a monster attacks people through insults. It's both hilarious and tragic at the same time. All of these bring in some irony with Kotaha's ability revolving around rocks, for she is indeed the weakest member as far as skill is concerned, despite having the strongest dedication to the cause, even when compared to Ryunosuke. No matter how much it may hurt her physically or mentally, she never wavers from her obligation as Shinken Yellow. The costumes and gear are pretty cool. The ranger suits resemble hakama with black stripes in the body representing where the foes overlap each other. The skirts for yellow and pink are neat looking thanks to the black patterns on the sides. What I love most about their suits though is that they have a metallic shine to them, so they really pop in the sunlight. I know that other teams that have worn spandex have all had a shine to them, but this one seems to be really vibrant, which makes them stand out from the costumes of the past. The helmets with the kanji visors is a nice touch too. As for the weapons, they're what you expect, though I do love the designs of them, especially Kotaha's boomerang blade thing, and of course, the aforementioned spear Chiaki wields. It is cool how Takeru brings out his inner guts with his big ass sword that can also work as a cannon to blow monsters away. Towards the halfway point, Takeru acquires an upgraded form where he gains a daimyo coat. He also acquires a new bazooka not too long after that can make short work of any enemy in its way. The cool thing about his super form is that he is able to share it with the other rangers, so they too can don super forms, albeit not all at once. Their mentor is a man named Hikoma Kusakabe. Kusakabe raised Takeru as a son after his father's death, despite having a daughter he had to leave behind for his own responsibilities towards the Shiba clan.
いざお連れしてもおとなしい乗り物を一つ二つだけで一度お化け屋敷に入った時などはおもらしいよ
He often disciplines the other rangers in the way of the samurai while trying to keep up with what is best for Takeru. He can also be quite badass when he wants to be. An intriguing item to note about Kusakabe is that he is played by Goro Ubuki, who has spent most of his acting career in samurai films, so he was a perfect fit for this series. Assisting Kusakabe are a bunch of servants with their faces covered, known as the Kuroko. Not only do the Kurokos serve the Shiba clan with their daily needs, but they are also the ones who help out citizens of Japan with simple tasks, such as crossing the street, to being the ones who take them all to shelters whenever a monster attacks. I like this dynamic, it just shows that the Rangers aren't the only ones being heroes, even if they are the face of the show. There's even an episode where a former Kuroko finds his passion reignited thanks to Ryunosuke.
侍たちの影の支えに
はい草壁様良い侍たちですな
Being a post-2000 series, obviously Shinkenger has a 6th Ranger. I hate Keisuke Soma's performance as this sushi seller with a passion. He is by far one of my least favorite 6th Rangers of all time. Part of it is that he doesn't fit with the tone of the show. It's like Toei decided the show was getting too serious, so it needed some comic relief, thus giving birth to Genta. Now, I like the concept of him being a childhood friend to Takeru, and I do like he created his own costume and mecha. However, so much of his plots revolve around silly antics, such as the time when a monster switched the Rangers' minds into inanimate objects. Genta got put into some sushi and was almost eaten by a cat.
Would that I could have that sound to lull me to sleep each night.
This in turn caused the next episode to feature Genta suffering from PTSD, being unable to even look at sushi, which keeps him from being able to fight with the other Rangers for one lame excuse or another.
That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
The comedy they had going with Ryunosuke was fine because while he was over the top, it still worked for the most part. Genta just goes all out on the batshit craziness aspect.
お前に呆れられたのに決まっとるなんだその格好はじゃあ変わんねえな
Of course, it doesn't help that when Genta is first introduced, he is able to take out the villains with some super speed ability, something he quickly seems to forget he even has and ends up getting his butt kicked just as much as the other Rangers, even though that technique could have taken care of the monsters 90% of the time. I hate it when a 6th Ranger is depowered just for the sake of it. Many fans out there call it 6th Ranger syndrome. There is one more hero I really need to talk about in this show, however it requires major plot spoilers. As such, if you have not seen Shinkenger yet, I highly recommend skipping this part and going right to the villains that's going to be right after it so you don't get spoiled on this. If you have seen Shinkenger though, or probably even Power Rangers Samurai, then by all means, watch this part. Episode 44 reveals that Takeru is not the head of the Shiba clan, instead is actually a Kagamusha, or shadow duplicate. The true head of the Shiba clan, and the real Shinken Red, is a woman named Karu Shiba, played by Runa Natsui. I quite like this concept as it fits with the samurai theme, however, I wish the show had done more on this aspect. They should have revealed Karu about 10 episodes earlier in order to allow the execution of this plot to nurture. Spend several episodes with her trying to develop a relationship with Mako and the others, have a bit of strife occur due to the others not feeling her as their leader, which causes them to screw up in battle, giving the Godoshu an upper hand with false pretenses of victory. They continue to fight together as Ryunosuke is the one who keeps begging his cohorts to barrel through with it since Karu is their true leader, only for failure to finally break them apart. This event is what causes Karu to realize her team shares no true loyalty to her, and then we continue on with the outcome the show provided when it came to Takeru's connection with Karu. Instead, the whole Kagamusha aspect feels tacked on, despite there being hints of it even back in the very first episode of the series. Like I said, I love this plot. I think it was a great idea. It really is what helps make Shinkenger stand out from other series. It's just that it should have been done earlier to really flesh it all out. The villains. According to the show's narrator, the Godoshu are the beings that the yokai are actually based on. The Godoshu, or corrupted ones, are a tribe of monsters that live on a river between Earth and the underworld called the Sanzu. It is basically the Japanese equivalent to the river Styx in Greek mythology, where the dead must bring coin to be boated to the afterlife. The Godoshu spawn from spirits who were dishonorable individuals in life and are turned into monsters as a result of their sins. Additionally, the Godoshu are unable to stray too far from the Sanzu River, for their bodies will dry out and they will crumble to dust. Each Godoshu also has 2 lives. Upon death, their bodies regenerate them into giants so they may expunge their rage towards those who killed them. While I don't really find the Monsters of the Week to be all that memorable, my favorites include this one that looks like a melting tiger. They're more than good. They're great! This snake-type dude with a really cool sounding voice. I'd love to hear that guy voice a Micro Machines commercial. And this creepy looking thing.
Oh my gosh!
The Godoshu are led by the aforesaid Daikoku. There's not much to really discuss about him, as all he does is drink and get angry. Drink and get angry. Drink and get angry!
怒っても二日酔いは治らないよ。酒のせいじゃねえ。真剣レッドだ。
Daikoku was injured fighting the previous band of Shinkengers, and as such, he is unable to leave their ship on the Sanzu for more than a few minutes before he starts drying up.
どうやらバラバラになった体も元に戻ったね。手間取っちまったぜ。
This is what drives the Godoshu goal to flood the earth with the waters of the Sanzu River.
That's odd. Usually the blood gets off at the second floor.
Our female member of the Godoshu is the shamisen playing Dayu Usakawa.
おかしいね。奴が目覚めたから船が浮き上がったんじゃないのかい？
さあね。わちきは同国のおもりじゃな。
Dayu was a woman who sold her sword to the Godoshu centuries ago because she loved a man who did not love her. Her backstory is actually quite tragic, and I never grow tired of hearing her play her shamisen with such a sorrowful, badass tune. For those of you who are familiar with Fullmetal Alchemist and Turn-A Gundam, you will recognize Dayu, for she is played by Romy Park.
死んでも結ばせるものか。たとえ下道に落ちようとも。下道であれば知れたこと。この世を苦しみ嘆きで満たす。
There's more I can tell you about her, but I'd rather you learn about it for yourself, especially when dealing with her shamisen.
わちきはずっと目をそらしていたのだ。何があったか。何をしたか。
Spoilers.
Harkening back to the shows of the 80s, the Godoshu have kind of a mentor-esque figure in the squid-like critter known as Shitari. Shitari doesn't do a whole lot other than give advice and send out the monsters of the week, but he is voiced by One Piece's Cho.
よくここが分かったね。結界を張っていたっていうのに。
My favorite Godoshu is a samurai named Juzo Fuwa, played by Kamen Rider 5's Mitsuri Kurahashi. Juzo found pleasure killing his opponents, and was offered a demonic sword known as Uramasa for his bloodlust. In time, he contracted a disease and entered the Sanzu River, drinking its water, which transformed him into a half-human, half-Godoshu hybrid that looks like something out of H.R. Giger's imagination.
同じ下道となって人の命を超えて戦う。それもまた一興だな。
Juzo finds himself enamored by Takeru, for Takeru's spirit reminds him of his, and he sets out to have the ultimate battle. Over the course of the series, his plot intertwines with Dayu's and the previously mentioned Akumaru. Speaking of Akumaru, he exists? I can't go into much detail, spoilers and all, but I'll just say that he makes Toku look useful. As usual, there are the grunts, called the Nanashi, or nameless ones. Unlike other grunts, these guys can also grow big, and there are some alligator ones. Their best moment, though, is when one of the monsters of the week introduces them to guns. Don't worry, kids. They were only shooting at robots.
Get out.
The Mecha. The Mecha of Shinkenger are based on animals and mythological beasts that take on the likeness of origami. Shinkeno is the first mech to appear, compiled of the Ranger's main origami creatures, a lion, dragon, turtle, bear, and monkey. A white tiger, saw shark, and a kabuto beetle are the first 3 auxiliary mechs to appear that can combine with Shinkeno. Genta brings in his own trio of a squid, a lobster, and a lantern. Wait, lantern? Yeah, he creates a lantern mech named Daigoro, who can grow big and combine with some of the other origami beasts if he so chooses to. The last mech the Rangers acquire is an ox pulling a cart one. Together, all these mechs combine to form what I call Clusterfucko. As not only does he continue the trend of stuff goes here, but I have no friggin' idea why they would ever do that to their suit actor. It doesn't help that he pretty much just has to stand still and shoot laser beams Heisei Godzilla style due to his size. I am not impressed by the mecha of this show at all, especially with how ridiculously lackluster the forms become. I could get behind Shinkino, and even the look the White Tiger and gang brought, but everything afterwards is borderline stupid. Although I do like this moment here at the beginning of the show when they didn't know how to actually combine.
なんか変じゃない？
え？あ。
As was when Takeru got upset for Daigoro combining with the other mecha.
もういいよ、このまま行こうぜ。
そうね。なんか新鮮な気もするし。
やってん。お前ら。
また俺余ってるだろ。
The effects and music. Complementing both the heroes and the villains, this is also where Shinkenger gets intriguing and frustrating at the same time. Shinkenger is full of top-notch fight choreography, excellent cinematography, and an amazingly energetic soundtrack from composer Hiroshi Takaki. I cannot say there was a single battle scene I truly hated, with the highlights of the show often revolving around Juzo and Takeru. There is also an episode featuring incredible lighting during a nighttime sequence. All of this is enhanced with kick-ass music, as you can hear here, here, and here. Not to mention Psychic Lover's prodigious opening theme song that thrusts you right into the fun of this show is going to provide with its catchy lyrics and active melody. Unfortunately, not all is perfect in that regard, as Toei went crazy with the CGI. We've got CGI sparks, CGI'd rubble, well, whatever. Could be worse. It could be the ending theme song. I don't know. Takatori Hideaki's Shirokuji Muchu Shinkenger just does nothing for me.
You can't win them all.
I don't hate it. It does kind of symbolize the show for me, in that no matter how much stuff there is that I enjoy, there is going to be something keeping me from finding it to be truly great. I love the original Ranger cast of the show, just like how I love the opening theme, while Genta and most of the villains are perfectly represented by the ending song. The episodes. Despite my hatred for certain aspects found in this show, I can't say there was a single episode I downright disliked, as all episodes had both good and bad parts. Oh, and no clip show! If I had to pick my least favorite episode though, it would be the one titled International Samurai. In this one, an American named Richard Brown was rescued by the Shinkengers from an incident a few episodes prior, and wants to learn the way of the samurai. While it sounds like a reasonable plot, what I hate about this episode the most is how much of a jerk the Shinkengers act towards Richard.
だったら適当に稽古でもつけて諦めさせればいい。
我慢するんだ。星座は侍道の基本中の基本だ。痛い痛い
He might be an idiot, but he legitimately wants to learn their techniques so he could save people. As such, his heart is in the right place, but Takeru and the others are far too selfish to see it that way, which feels out of character for them, especially for Mako and Kotaha.
There's a simple explanation for that.
There are some cringe-inducing moments like Richard's Shinken Brown outfit.
Yeah! 同じくブラウン Richard Brown!
ミスター・ブラウン
But I can't help laughing at the scene where Ryunosuke quits teaching him and he thinks it means he has now learned everything there is to being a samurai.
もうこれ以上君に侍道を教えることはできない。
教えることない。
稽古はこれでおしまいだ。
それはつまり免許改伝と言います。
And then this fun moment is counterbalanced by another jerk-ass scene.
侍ってのは誰でもなれるわけじゃないの。おっさんみたいな人向いてないからさ。諦めな。
What an asshole!
Regrettably, I cannot go into detail on my favorite episode of the series, Collision, the Final Duel, as it is episode 46 and that would give away major story spoilers. However, what I love about this episode is how most of it is one continuous battle sequence between Takeru and Juzo with some epic choreography, especially when they are fighting on horseback.
What up?
And Kamen Rider Decade kind of shows up, giving us the first true Sentai Kamen Rider crossover. And it's really kind of dumb because you have to watch the Decade episodes to actually get the full story.
この世界は侵食されている。ライダーに、ディケイドに。ディケイドは世界を破壊する。排除しなければ。お前は。
Thankfully, the episode isn't hijacked too much because of it, and it's the one with Chiaki's dad, but still... The movies. Thankfully, despite being massively successful, they didn't go overboard on the supplements for Shinkenger like they did with Goranger. There's a couple of movies and that's about it. The theatrical movie, which takes place between episodes 24 and 25, introduces to us that the Gadoshu become more powerful in the summertime, and the Rangers find themselves in a continuous battle with a powerful tribe leader.
あの憎き真剣者の子孫どもを片付けた後は人間の世界は同国となり
The Rangers discover an ancient origami creature that resembles a dinosaur sword and gives Takeru another upgrade form.
恐竜その刀まさにあの時の
行くぞ
The movie itself is not very good, borderline boring even, yet it is important to the show as the dinosaur sword makes a couple of appearances in the show itself, so you can't just skip the movie like you used to be able to.
That's stupid!
After the show ended, Toei released another movie titled Shinkenger Returns, despite it taking place between episodes 43 and 44. In this feature, the Rangers find themselves going through an identity crisis as sometimes they are samurai, then cops, only to become part of a high school drama.
男子に変装して入学したのはあんただけじゃないのよ
An animal-themed Sentai team, and so on. It's an okay movie that could have been about 15 minutes shorter than it was. Meh. Lastly, there is the annual versus film, Shinkenger vs. Goranger. Yeah. Oh man, is this movie boring as hell. It takes too long for the plot to get moving because it is an hour long, but despite the 60-minute length, not much happens. It takes 20 minutes before the non-Red Rangers are thrown into other dimensions, and when they are hardly seen in those dimensions. I don't get why they did that. Like, we don't see any resolutions to this plot, nor do we get to see how the Rangers escape them. They just do. The only purpose this aspect serves is to extend the running time and have the Shinkengers individually meet up with the Goangers.
君もジャンクワールドに迷い込んだんだ。
やつれちゃってかわいそう。
いや、私は。
大丈夫。
They don't even do anything interesting for the characters that got sent into Samurai World. At least in Dairanger vs. Go-Go 5, there was a purpose to those going to those worlds and you got to see them interact with those worlds. Here, you don't get any of that.
スマイルスマイル。
No!
There is no other reason for it. The Ghost Sagers even show up for a scene.
Super Sentai! Godzilla!
Godzilla.
The Ugats from Goanger turn into motorcycles for the Nanashi to ride. Except for the Force comic relief one.
運転は俺に任せろ。全開。
And some other crap happens. Unless you must watch every Versus movie, skip this one. It also doesn't help that the silliness of Goanger clashes with the seriousness of Shinkenger. Even Toku speaks the truth about Goanger.
素人と一緒に戦うな。どっちにとっても危険だ。さっきの戦い、これ見よがしな動きに無駄な攻撃。それに戦いを甘く見た態度。素人の資格は十分だ。なんだと。Oh, snap.
On the positive side, maybe, if you love the Goanger ending theme, you get one here for Shinkenger. As the sun sets, I do want to stress that I did enjoy Shinkenger quite a bit despite its flaws. It's just that those flaws are heavy. So heavy that they do hijack aspects of the show. So much so that I am going to give Shinkenger a nice, semi-generous, yet deserving 4 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. The villains could have been so much better. They are truly one of my least favorite parts of this show. Well, there is the mecha too, but the villains could have been much, much better. Nevertheless, if you are looking for a series to get you into the Sentai universe, you can do so much worse. This is a solid entry to start with. Hell, it may not make my top favorites list, but it is one of the better entries in the franchise. With that in mind, let's celebrate, guys! Until next time, bye.